Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins All World, where we delve into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins. Today, we're focusing on a true gem from the world of US currency, the Washington $quarter from 1971. You may be familiar with this coin, but did you know that this seemingly ordinary quarter could be worth far more than its face value? Stick around, and let's dive deep into the history, design, and rare characteristics of the 1971 Washington quarter that have made it so valuable to collectors today. Let's start with a quick history lesson on the Washington quarter. The quarter, first introduced in 1932, has always featured the iconic portrait of George Washington, the first President of the United States. This design was created by artist John Flanagan, and it's been a recognizable symbol of American currency ever since. The Washington quarter has undergone a few changes throughout its history, but the basic design, Washington's face on the obverse, front, and an eagle on the reverse, back, has remained constant for most of its existence. Now, let's zero in on the 1971 Washington quarter. In 1971, the U.S. Mint struck a massive number of quarters, which were widely circulated. This was right after the coinage reforms of the 1960s, when the mint began transitioning from silver to copper-nickel-clad coins. If you're thinking this was just another year of ordinary coin production, think again. The 1971 quarter is anything but ordinary for a number of reasons, and that's what makes it special and potentially worth much more than you'd expect. First of all, the 1971 Washington quarter was part of a new era of coinage. The United States Mint had started using copper-nickel-clad metal for most of its circulating coins, meaning the quarter was no longer made with silver, as it had been up until 1964. This new composition was intended to keep production costs down while ensuring that the coin still had a high-quality appearance. So, even though the 1971 Washington quarter looks very much like any other quarter you'd find in your pocket, it was a significant moment in U.S. coinage history. The design on the 1971 quarter is the classic, timeless portrayal of George Washington on the obverse, with his profile facing left, surrounded by the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the year of minting, 1971. On the reverse, you'll find the eagle, which has been a part of U.S. coinage for centuries, along with the inscriptions, United States of America, and $quarter. However, while the coin's basic design has remained consistent, there are certain features of the 1971 Washington quarter that make it appealing to collectors. One of the key factors that determine the coin's value is condition. Most of the 1971 quarters you'll come across are in circulated condition, meaning they've been in and out of wallets, piggy banks, or used in everyday transactions. These quarters are often heavily worn, with scratches and discoloration that can diminish their value. However, uncirculated 1971 Washington quarters are a different story. Coins that have been carefully preserved since minting, without being exposed to wear and tear, can be highly valuable to collectors. The 1971 quarter is considered one of those coins that is relatively easy to find in circulation, but difficult to find in mint condition. If you've got a pristine, uncirculated 1971 Washington quarter, you might be holding onto something much more valuable than you think. Another important factor in determining the coin's value is its rarity. While millions of 1971 Washington quarters were minted, certain varieties or errors can increase the value exponentially. One of the most sought-after varieties is the D mint mark version of the 1971 quarter. The mint mark indicates where the coin was minted. The D mint mark signifies that it was struck at the Denver Mint. While the D mint-marked coins were common, certain striking errors or variations in these coins can make them incredibly rare. Some of the errors collectors look for include off-center strikes, double strikes, and die cracks, all of which can make your 1971 quarter worth much more than its face value. Speaking of errors, error coins are one of the most exciting and rewarding aspects of coin collecting. A 1971 Washington quarter with a striking error could make you a very fortunate collector. For example, if your 1971 quarter has an off-center strike, meaning the design was not properly aligned when it was stamped, or if it has a die crack running across the coin, these errors make the coin stand out and increase its value. A double strike, where the coin was stamped more than once, can also lead to an increase in value. These types of coins are incredibly rare, and if you happen to find one, you could be holding onto a collector's dream. So, how much is a 1971 Washington quarter actually worth? Well, if you've got one in average circulated condition, it may only be worth about 25 to 50 cents, a far cry from its face value. But here's the exciting part: uncirculated or error coins can be worth significantly more. The most valuable 1971 Washington quarter can reach up to an impressive $76,700, yes, that's right, $76,700 for a single 1971 Washington quarter in pristine, uncirculated condition or with a rare minting error. This is the kind of hidden treasure that many collectors dream about finding, and it just goes to show that sometimes, the most seemingly ordinary coins can be worth incredible amounts of money. So, what should you do if you think you have one of these valuable coins? First and foremost, get it professionally graded by a trusted coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll assess its condition and give you an official grade, which can help determine its value in the collector's market. The higher the grade, the more valuable your coin will be. In conclusion, if you've got a 1971 Washington quarter lying around in a drawer or tucked away in a coin collection, it might be time to take a closer look. It could be worth far more than you ever expected. Whether it's a rare error, uncirculated condition, or simply a beautifully preserved piece of history, the 1971 Washington quarter holds a value that goes well beyond its face value. So, the next time you're sifting through your coins, keep an eye out for that 1971 Washington quarter. You never know, it could be worth $76,700 or more. Today, we're talking about the 1981 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that might not look particularly special at first glance, but has a value that might just surprise you. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this coin could be worth far more than you might have thought. Let's start by taking a trip back in time to 1981. In the early 1980s, the United States was in the midst of major economic changes, but even though the country was evolving, the Washington quarter design remained as iconic as ever. The quarter, first introduced in 1932, has long featured the portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States. But what many collectors don't realize is that a coin's value can be shaped by far more than just its design. It's about rarity, condition, and those hidden details that make it stand out. The 1981 Washington quarter continued the tradition of its predecessors with the familiar design: George Washington's profile on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse, holding an olive branch in its talons. Simple, elegant, and timeless. However, this seemingly common coin from 1981 carries certain features that make it quite significant, especially in specific conditions. Let's break it down and see why the 1981 Washington quarter dollar holds so much potential for collectors. For starters, the minting process in 1981 was a little different from what we see today. The United States Mint struck billions of coins that year, but they were all made with the copper-nickel clad composition, a blend of copper and nickel that had replaced the earlier silver quarters. This composition was designed to be more cost-effective and durable, making it easier for the mint to continue producing coins in large quantities. But the real magic happens when we talk about condition. Like any coin, the 1981 Washington quarter saw a lot of circulation. Most of the coins made that year were used in everyday transactions, so they're often worn down and damaged. But when you come across one that has been well preserved over the years, it becomes something truly remarkable. An uncirculated 1981 quarter, which means the coin hasn't been used in any transactions and retains its original mint condition, is where things get interesting. These coins are rare because most of the 1981 Washington quarters you'll find in circulation will be in worn or circulated condition. Finding one that is pristine, untouched by time and handling, is a much harder task, but what if I told you that error coins could make the 1981 Washington quarter even more valuable? Error coins are the holy grail for collectors. Sometimes, during the minting process, a coin can be struck incorrectly, leading to variations that are often unique and highly sought after. Imagine finding a 1981 Washington quarter that has a double die or a misaligned strike, where the design was stamped more than once or not centered properly. These types of errors can significantly raise the value of the coin, as collectors are eager to own something that no one else has. Even minor imperfections like off-center strikes or die cracks can cause a coin to stand out from the rest. These imperfections can dramatically affect a coin's value, especially when it's graded as mint state or uncirculated. Coins that have been misstruck or have design flaws are often far rarer than their perfectly struck counterparts, and in the world of collectors, rarity equals value. So, let's get to the exciting part. Just how much could your 1981 Washington quarter be worth if you have one in great condition or with an error? Well, the 1981 Washington quarter dollar is one of those coins that might not seem like a big deal at first, but in the right condition, it could be worth a small fortune. If you happen to have an uncirculated 1981 Washington quarter, especially one with a rare minting error, it could fetch a substantial amount at auction. A coin in top-tier condition or with an error could be worth as much as $72,500. Yes, you heard that right, $72,500 for a single 1981 Washington quarter. It's mind-blowing when you think about it, isn't it? Just imagine having a coin that was once worth a mere quarter, now worth an amount that could change your life. And all it takes is finding the right error, condition, or rare variety to unlock its true potential. You might be wondering, how do I know if I have a valuable coin? The best way to figure out whether your 1981 Washington quarter is worth money is to get it professionally graded. Trusted grading services like PCGS or NGC can evaluate the coin's condition and determine its grade, which will help you understand its true value in the marketplace. Higher grades, such as MS65 or MS66, mint state, with minimal signs of wear, can significantly increase a coin's price. So, if you find a coin that looks like it just came out of the mint, it could be worth far more than face value. In summary, while the 1981 Washington quarter dollar may seem like just another piece of U.S. currency, it holds potential for much greater value than most people realize. With its classic design, historical significance, and the possibility of finding rare varieties or errors, the 1981 Washington quarter is a coin that has earned its place in the hearts of collectors. If you happen to have one tucked away in your collection or hidden in your spare change jar, it might be worth taking a second look. So, don't forget to check those quarters. You might just find that your 1981 Washington quarter is worth $72,500 or more. That's right, $72,500 for a single quarter. Today's video is one you won't want to miss. We're diving into a coin that might just be sitting in your collection or tucked away in a jar somewhere, a 1974 Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, this coin might seem like just another quarter, but trust me, it's worth taking a closer look. What if I told you that this coin could be worth tens of thousands of dollars? Stick around to find out exactly why the 1974 Washington quarter is a coin you should pay attention to, especially if you have one hiding in your collection. The Washington quarter, first issued in 1932 to honor the nation's first president, George Washington, has a long history of being one of the most popular coins in the United States. For many years, it's been a regular part of U.S. currency, with many people simply using it in everyday transactions. But, as with any coin, there are certain factors that can cause its value to skyrocket. It's not just about the year it was minted, it's about rarity, condition, and, in some cases, unique minting errors that can make certain coins extraordinarily valuable. Let's jump right into the specifics of the 1974 Washington quarter. By 1974, the Washington quarter had already been in circulation for over 4 decades, and it was continuing to be one of the most reliable and recognizable coins in the country. The coin features the classic design. On the obverse, we have the image of George Washington, facing left with the inscription, Liberty, and the date, 1776 to 1976, marking the bicentennial of the United States. On the reverse, there is an eagle, with its wings spread, perched on a branch, symbolizing the strength and resilience of the nation. In 1974, the U.S. Mint produced millions of these quarters, which means that in general, the 1974 Washington quarter isn't considered to be particularly rare. However, as we all know, rarity can come in many forms. While most of the quarters from 1974 are common and circulated heavily, there's always a chance you could stumble upon one in near-perfect condition or one that has a rare minting error, and that's where the value comes in. Here's the thing, Coins that are well preserved and remain in uncirculated condition tend to command much higher prices than those that have been circulated and have suffered wear and tear over the years. For the 1974 Washington quarter, the condition is critical. If you have a coin that shows minimal signs of wear, with clear, sharp features and no major scratches or blemishes, you could have something quite valuable on your hands. A coin like this, especially if it's graded as MS65 or higher, could fetch a significant amount at auction, but the real kicker is the error coins. This is where things get really exciting. Over the years, there have been minting errors that can make a coin far more valuable than it would be in perfect condition. Imagine finding a 1974 Washington quarter that was struck off-center or with a double die, meaning the design was stamped twice in slightly different positions, creating a unique and highly collectible version of the coin. These types of errors, although rare, can send a coin's value through the roof. Additionally, you might also come across 1974 Washington quarters that were struck on the wrong type of metal, which happened from time to time in the minting process. These wrong planchet errors can occur when a coin is struck on a piece of metal that wasn't intended for that particular coin. These kinds of mistakes can lead to coins being incredibly rare, and as a result, their value can increase exponentially. Now, let's talk about the market and what you can expect to see when it comes to the 1974 Washington quarter's value. For a typical circulated coin, you might not see much more than its face value of 25 cents, or perhaps a few dollars, depending on its condition. But when we're talking about a well-preserved or error coin, the value can increase dramatically. Coins in mint condition or those with significant minting errors have been known to fetch a premium price. In fact, a 1974 Washington quarter in near-perfect or error-free condition could be valued at an impressive amount. So, how much is a 1974 Washington quarter actually worth? Well, if you happen to have a 1974 Washington quarter in pristine condition or with a rare minting error, you could potentially sell it for a staggering amount. The value of these coins can range anywhere from a few $100s to a jaw-dropping $76,700, depending on the specifics of the coin's condition, rarity, and the errors it may contain. That's right, $76,700 for a single 1974 Washington quarter. Imagine that. What once was just another quarter in your pocket could now be worth more than many people's annual salaries. Whether it's the result of an unusual minting error or the pristine condition of your coin, it's important to always check your 1974 Washington quarters closely, as you might just have a rare treasure waiting to be discovered. So, if you've got a collection of quarters, or if you happen to have a 1974 Washington quarter sitting around, make sure to examine it closely. A well-preserved, uncirculated 1974 quarter or one with a unique minting flaw could be worth far more than its face value. And who knows, if you're lucky, your coin could be worth $76,700. Thanks for tuning in to this exciting journey through the world of rare coins. If you enjoyed learning about the 1974 Washington quarter and want to discover more valuable coins, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for future videos. Happy coin hunting, and remember, sometimes, treasure is just a quarter away.